Hello, everybody. I'm Kip Snow, Director of the Transportation Distribution and Logistics Institute at the Community College of Baltimore County.
Hey everyone, Mike Singer, Community Manager, Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. Welcome to the Two Guys Talking Ship podcast.
Episode 46, we're coming off of the back end of Maritime Day, so we've got a couple of things to cover with that. And some other things that are coming up this summer. So we've got a number of things to cover today. How's your week so far?
Pretty good. Things have been a little crazy, but, busy. But good.
My oldest son, he graduated high school this week. So it's pretty excited about that. So
yeah, how you feel about that, Pops?
That's 1 down, 3 to go. No, he was working really hard with it all, so we're proud of him. So, all right, let's get into some shipping updates.
All right, yeah. So we're going to do the last 4 weeks. So this is the daily average per week. So basically, this many trucking transactions per day, all week long. Right? I feel like I have to explain that.
Well, we may have some new folks who are just joining this episode and maybe have not gone back through all of them. So thank you,
because we have to remember there actually might be new folks watching. Gee, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yes,
new people actually watching the podcast. So 4 weeks ago, 3,542. 3 weeks ago, 3,887. With 2 days over 4,000 transactions. Okay. 2 weeks ago, almost 3,900 transactions. That's per day. It's every day. That's really close to the 4,000 we had talked about.
Right.
That we had kind of been talking about. And then just this past week ending 2 days ago, the 24th, daily average truck transactions was 3,746. So let me just go over some. So 7 out of the last 8 weeks, it's been over 3,600. And 4 out of the last 6, it's been over 3,700. Let me just run through some stuff here. Like, will we ever get a tariff downturn that everybody was so worried about? And Sal Mercogliano said, well, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to transition from the West Coast to the East Coast. And was that 1 week when we went down to like 3,200? Was that little blip? Was that it? Was that our downturn? Are we going to get it in June because it's still not here? I'm like, okay, maybe it's a few weeks out. Was the downturn not seen because we had an increase planned of an extra 500 TEUs per day? And then there was a rush to get in before the tariffs. I don't. As much as we're analyzing this and paying attention, we still don't know. What do you got?
So I think those are all good observations and questions to ask.
What are the answers, Kip?
Yeah, I know.
That's why you're over there.
Yeah, I wish I had all the answers. However, I mean, you are going to see definitely in the short term periods of sheer chaos. I mean, we in the BPA meeting this past Friday. U.S. Customs officials got up and spoke about kind of the current status of things that were going on, and to please be patient because they are actually having to track on a daily basis what is the tariff for that particular day for the import of the product.
Wow.
So they are
now obviously that makes sense, but I didn't think about the minutia of somebody locally having to deal with, okay, this one is out, this one is in, this is 20, no, it's 25%, no, it's 10, but it's going to be more than that after 90 days, but it was supposed to be 145%. I mean,
you're
got to be driving somebody nuts.
So So this was some of the work that I was doing in industry. I worked for a German electronics company, and I was handling their imports from Germany to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And on a daily basis, depending on when the consolidated shipments were coming over, we had to track what the tariffs were and how much we were having to pay for those imports, because that change in price would fluctuate, and it could fluctuate the price of the actual product, or at least the profit margins associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a business decision that company has to decide how to make. So these fluctuations, you don't want these fluctuations to happen on a regular basis, because they're working at this level to try to figure them all out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, are we going to get a downturn? Um, as far as tariff,
What do you get when you mix an elephant and a rhino?
yeah, exactly. um, the tariffs are designed to go and maintain or
All right,
keep.
so the new kids, Elephino. Okay.
Hellfire. Thank you. All right. Sorry. Yeah, didn't follow through with the punchline on that one. Sorry. The no, but they the tariffs are here to preserve the economic model that exists here in the U.S.
Right, and
So
let's be clear, there were already tariffs going both ways, a whole giant chart of who, what, and because,
correct.
right,
You can look up in the Code of Federal Regulations in Chapter 43 and look at for every product that's imported into the U.S. there is a tariff amount.
and people have, countries have import tariffs on our goods as they come at, right?
Absolutely, and in
And,
some situations
you
we
know,
have.
we hear it in the news and we're like, oh, it's this thing and it's never happened before and it's just happening now. There's a whole chart. It's already lined. There have been existing tariffs for years, decades, right?
Absolutely.
And everything was just kind of set, and everybody's used to these prices, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody talked about it because it was a standard thing, like the gas tax. You go up to the pump, you put the nozzle in your car, you pay a certain amount. You don't think that there's 22 or 33 cents per gallon of
Correct.
tax on it because it's always been there. But when we talk about changing it, people assume that it never existed.
Correct.
And that's not exactly true either.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, I interrupted.
no, that all of that is absolutely correct. So the tariffs are supposed to be used as a tool. And I think in this case, it's being used more as a negotiation tool.
Yes.
Um,
Seems that way.
yeah. So I'm hoping that we get to a point where the tariffs are a lot more stable, whatever they are, and that we can operate that.
Yep.
Again, I hope that the tariffs go down, because that means that the economic model within the U.S. allows for much more sustainable operations and more labor opportunities and those types of things.
Right.
And that we don't have to use the tariffs to go and help our economic position. So,
Right. And then when I was talking about like the customs people keeping track of all this stuff and going crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and then what does it do to all the warehousing people in the what is it, the enterprise zone? What is it called?
The free, the foreign trade zones.
Foreign trade zone, right? And then things are coming and going and flexing and in and out, and is it or isn't it? And and you're on the phone. Hey Jimmy, do you want these 4,600 light bulbs or don't you? I don't know, because it's got to be driving all those people crazy.
Right. And so, and again, the way those foreign trade zones work is that it's that ability to pause the tariff payment to U.S. Customs until such time that somebody needs them, but there's a warehousing cost associated. So it all has to do with these costs.
Right. So you're weighing the warehousing costs versus what you're paying now versus, okay, do I want to hurry up and get it out of the warehouse and pay what I know I'm going to pay, or do I want to wait and weigh it against the cost of housing it for another month versus what the tariff might be in 2 months, right? All that.
That is the exact
Ouch.
trade-off question that you have to ask. That's
Look,
correct.
man, I don't want to be having a headache. It's too early for morning for that.
Was that little week a blip? Was that it? No, I would imagine
Right.
that there's
rhetorical, sort of, but
that is going to be there's going to be continued turmoil until we get to some point. I don't know when it would be. Yes, some of the downturn may not be seen because companies are making business decisions just what you just described. Do we go ahead and pay a higher duty and get it delivered versus waiting and banking on whether or not that duty is going to be reduced or not? And
here's another thing I just came up with. Well, if I leave my customers waiting too long, I might lose a customer. They might get it from somewhere else. They might have it, I don't know, flown in or trucked. Who knows?
You're absolutely correct. And that decision is separate from everything that we've talked about.
And then I've got 500 pallets of whatever light bulbs or whatever they are. And then now I've got to try to sell them to a customer that I didn't have when they were dedicated for this customer. So wow.
And you're talking about the light bulbs, and I'm the pallet customer trying to figure out am I going to be able to handle the 500 pallets that you need or not.
Right.
And I'm not involved in any of the tariffs in any way, and it's directly impacting me.
Oh, you mean that actually supplies the pallets?
That is correct.
Wow.
So there's a whole bunch of moving parts here. Whether or not tariffs are directly related or not, it's going to impact every.
Now I'm half joking. Let's do a whole podcast and list everything and really bore the heck out of people.
Okay. Well, there is a video that Arizona State University puts out that I use in classes that really it takes a look at the manufacturing of a water bottle. And you think that, it's just a bottle full of water, but there's so much that goes involved in that. They spend 8 minutes going through the full supply chain of just a water bottle, and it's a massive.
Right. And my brother's probably involved because he works on these giant machines that fold and print and glue cardboard boxes.
Yes.
Just about everything comes in a box.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So interesting.
All right. So that's
why we went down a tangent, but that's educating people to how wide reaching these decisions are, and how many people and industries it probably affects. And I learned something. So
good.
Cool stuff.
That's what I'm hoping that we're doing here is helping to educate everybody and a little bit, understand a little bit.
That's what we're supposed to be doing. I thought we were supposed to be having fun.
Well, there you go. All right. Some port news.
Well, I just wanted to, it sounds silly because it's going to be such a one-liner here, but 2 weeks ago on the May 8th, remember that ship got stuck? Well, they didn't get stuck. Lost its propulsion. And then they were like, okay, you're not moving until you get recertified and repaired. Well, it was a sugar ship, and
it was parked right there at Pier. What was it?
11, yeah.
11, right next to us for Maritime Day.
Right, that's probably true. Was it there on Maritime Day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it came to town, did its thing, unloaded the sugar, and left. So everything seems to be fine. It would be interesting to know what exactly happened and how they fixed it, but I don't have.
Okay.
I don't have any of that information.
Any insight on that. All right.
Now, what would be interesting, except Domino doesn't like to talk, except through official channels, is how did they? Why are they still bringing in sugar to Pier 11? Is the new sugar shed really not ready yet, or is it just because they had a lease or an agreement and
you utilize that while they're still, if they've got a cost
associated? We're paying for it. We might as well keep it coming. Would be an interesting answer to see. So little bit of Keybridge lawsuit news. You want to
Yeah.
run through that?
So we know that there are quite a number of lawsuits associated with the whole transaction. There's quite a number that are associated with the the vessel operator and the vessel owners and with the actual transaction. But now we're starting to see the potential of wrongful death and negligence lawsuits related to the upkeep of the Key Bridge. So this is there was an article.
I did miss that in the article that it said upkeep. Now, do you
Yeah,
think?
so this was I think it was an AP or it was through one of the Microsoft News networks that published this. I'll read through what they're saying is that though no civil litigation against the state has started yet, more than 20 people and businesses have sent letters to the state treasurer, stating that they intend to sue the state for failures to keep the Baltimore's bridge roadway and the people using it safe from tragedy. So attorneys representing those alleged victims have estimated total payout could run into the billions of dollars. And so this is so what they're saying is we're going to start seeing potential lawsuits against the state for not doing the initial upkeep. And there's been some other reports that have been coming out about the upkeep of not just the Key Bridge, but many other bridges around the U.S. So these notices were submitted to the state before the first anniversary of the collapse, which was March the 26th of last year, and so that was the time period required to submit those statements. And so they're coming from a wide range of situations. Not only the 6 workers who were killed, but also the 2 that were on the bridge that survived, residents who around who had some type of impact with their homes and damage and related damages, businesses and workers who were affected by economic loss because of the port's closure. So there's quite a number from a lot of different areas that we're going to see some lawsuits. So we'll add that to our list that we're tracking to watch everything that's going on.
Wow. And
you had some information you showed me this week about Pier 4.
Right, and I was kind of surprised about that, even though you and I had talked about and covered that supposedly most of those pier. If I get some of this wrong, Mike at BaltimoreShipwatchers.com. That several or more than one of the piers, North Locust Point, were like condemned, and the state was trying to find somebody who wanted to buy or lease or take over them, because I thought the story is that they didn't have the money to repair them. But this is about one specific pier who is still active. And it's part of a business that I really didn't understand. So I just realized, remember we talked about this, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and so you still see salt ships coming in. And I'm like, well, we hardly get any snow around here. Why is salt still coming in? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I didn't realize that we were a distribution center for like the mid-Atlantic, at least, for salt. And we have it coming in 2 different terminals. It comes in at North Locust Point. It comes in at Ruckert terminals across the way from Fort McHenry. I had no idea we were, like a salt distribution center. I had no idea.
So it's not just the road salt, but it's for the water softening systems.
Oh, right. Thank you. So now I see this article that that they might close it. Do you want to talk about that, or?
Well, just a couple of things here. So this is a state-owned pier.
Yes.
Just like Seagirt and Dundalk Marine Terminals, they are state-owned properties also.
Yes.
And up until the Ports America Chesapeake Agreement, the state ran it. But I think that there begs some kind of question about whether state agencies, can effectively run, commercial operations like that.
Mhm.
Hence the Ports America Chesapeake Agreement, and I think they're doing a pretty darn good job. Okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
so I want this is another state-owned pier. I don't know who may be the terminal operator there.
Well, it's
Um,
Canton stevedoring, right?
Okay, so they are handling that. So one of the things that Ports America Chesapeake, as part of their
Their
agreement,
contract ends the end of this month, so they're
mm,
not able to schedule out. I mean, and I, even though we're on this podcast and I've been running the Ship Watchers, and we got 16,000 people in the Facebook group since 2017, and pay attention to all this stuff, I still don't understand how everything works. And
sure.
so, how far out are you booking your buyers of salt, and then your ships coming in? How far out are you booking that? I mean, and I guess those are contracts.
I don't know who is the owner of the product. So in these particular cases, Canton and Ruckert, they don't own the products. They're somebody else owns it, and they are handling the product movements. So they are going to have those agreements to move those products. If they don't have the contractual agreement in place, then it's very difficult to go and put those agreements in place. There is an issue here, and it may
Right.
be that what I was going back to with Ports America Chesapeake is part of their agreement was to make the financial investment to improve berths 3 and 4 out there at Seagirt.
Mm.
I would imagine that there is going to be that would be part of the renewal process. Is whoever goes in there as part of the SALT agreement has got to go and make some improvements, and they're probably going to make a long-term lease to be able to operate this. That's kind of where I think this is kind of leading towards,
Yeah.
that
Maybe.
that it may just be part of this particular process. It's still something that needs to be addressed. The piers, if they don't get the necessary repairs, they're not going to be operational.
Right.
But
Right.
somebody's got to pay for it.
Right. And I guess I didn't realize that it was in such bad shape. I mean, I
Yeah.
knew it was. I knew it. They needed help or repairs, but or maybe they're not in such bad shape, and maybe it just so happens that the lease runs out the end of this year
Right.
with the state. The business that moves the salt has a lease with the state to use the pier. Um, and so, but I think what the article said was that the state hasn't renewed their lease yet, and maybe that's because of the repairs. And then in the article, I thought it said that so they were supposed to have an inspection, and that the state said that that the repairs weren't. What's the number? I thought I saw 60 or 80 million. That the
Mm.
number wasn't preventative.
Okay.
So that's interesting. And then how do you run your salt business while the repairs are going on? And how long does that take? And
I wonder if where else there may be. It'd be curious. I'd be curious to watch and see what happens if there is
right,
another terminal or another pier that may be able to handle that business or not. I mean, even if repairs need to be made, it's going
right,
to
it would have
impact.
to be local, right? It would
Yeah.
have to be
Yeah.
local. It would have to be right there because that's where they store it all, right? So
Hmm.
if you move it to another pier that's not right there,
Hmm.
then Canton stevedoring has to go find more land to put the giant piles.
Yeah. There is quite a bit that will be involved in that solution.
And somebody, I don't know if it's Canton or some political folks, were trying to get a meeting with the governor to talk about this.
Gotcha.
And I don't think that's happened yet either.
Okay.
So,
All right, so we should pin that one as something to watch here the next couple
right,
of weeks with
right,
what's happening with Pier 4.
right. I agree.
You got some updated information on the two MSC services? that were?
I wanted to talk about that because when they said that they were suspending some services, they said some services, including Empire, right? And then we went on to the Seagirt schedule and
Right.
found that Empire is on there, but it was a little confusing because they use the same color. Like, so this is what the schedule looked like, and it's helpful because they're in all these different colors.
Mm-hmm.
And then down here in the bottom is this legend, which is handy. And so let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. I don't know. My brain's too early. Haven't had enough coffee. Don't feel like counting. All right. So 6 times 4 is 25. 24.
Yeah, approximately. There you go.
And so now you're talking about, how do you choose 25 colors that differentiate so that they don't all kind of blend together, right? So you can look at something like this and really see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get into 25 different colors, it gets difficult.
Sure.
I will admit that. But they did use black for this US EC2 and the Empire Service. So, it's kind of hard to track when you're, because I thought, oh, great, we'll look up Empire, we'll see what ships are on the schedule, and then we'll track those.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of hard when they use one color for 2 different services.
Sure.
And then so we talked about. So I went ahead and wrote down the bunch. So the first one that was due in on May 25th was off the schedule. The next one that was due in on June 1st was off the schedule. And then the next 3, June 8th, June 24th, June 29th, are all still on the schedule.
So to kind
of, that's right. You did figure out what the other service was.
Yeah. So it was the so MSC on May the 7th had a press release and talking a little bit about this.
Mm-hmm.
They said that they are suspending as part of this kind of change or update. They are suspending both the Empire and the Pelican services. And so these are route schedules, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
These changes will take effect from week 19 or remain in place as part of an interim network. So when I hear that, that tells me this is more like temporary changes to similar to in the transit world, like bus, like your city bus routes, and they will change based on what the demand is. And if they don't have ridership on a particular lane, maybe it's like summer, and you have fewer people who are using a particular lane because maybe it's summer break or something like that. They will temporarily suspend a service until such time that they've got, they know that they've got more ridership. The same thing here is that depending on scheduling of cargo, certain products are shipped over to certain areas at certain times. They're going to change their routes to reflect that because they don't want vessels operating without cargo or with less cargo to be able to cover the costs.
Yeah, so that is interesting. In the news recently in the last couple of months, right? Every time tariff comes up, I liken it to, the inflatable guy that you see waving at the gas station, right?
Sure.
But then you read further down in the article and it basically says, well, we're going to adjust this with future needs. And so they did suspend the service, but it might come back as soon as the demand comes back.
Right? It specifically states that they intend to reinstate the current network once the demand returns to normal.
And so how do we keep track of that without having somebody an inside person at Seagirt or Ports America?
I would imagine that these at least to the industry folks like us, these announcements will come and be fairly regular and announced as they happen.
Wait a minute.
The reason why the general public
we're industry folks now. Can I get a little button wearing my polo shirt? Industry folk.
There you go. Industry folks. I think the general public, when they're hearing this, because there's a little bit more sensitivity to the word tariffs, and they're
sure.
Oh, something's happening. So service is suspended now. I'm like, no, this is a kind of a
And I'm sure there were plenty of examples that affected folks.
100%. Yeah,
right.
don't get me wrong here. 100%.
Right.
So some of this is 100% related to tariffs because people are making other decisions about buying and shipping. And so, yes, I mean, this is related to some of that demand, but these types of changes happen all the time. They've always happened since the beginning of time. It's just these are just business decisions that are made based on other influences, both macro and microeconomic.
I thought you were going into a Billy Joel song for a minute there.
I would not be singing. That is not a joyful noise. I will spare everybody. So, the services that are continuing on include the America service, the Amberjack service, the Emerald service, and the Lone Star service. And the America service and the Amberjack service both have stops in Baltimore. Oh. So MSC is still going to be servicing our port.
Oh yeah, I think they're out there right now.
You just go just that probably the cargo that was supposed to be on the Empire and Pelican are probably going to be sent on the America and Amberjack service for the short period of time until they bring those lanes back on.
That's an interesting point. You know, I mean, if they visit some of the same ports, then we'll just, you know,
stick that container on this ship. It's going to be 3 days late because you're on the next route.
Right. They've got these different loops or routes, and we can just put it on. See, I didn't even think of that. That they would just. It's not that the cargo won't get here. They might be able to put it on a different route.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of MSC ships still coming here. Mm-hmm. Great point. Thank you. Because I missed that.
Another interesting point of interest with the Empire route is that the Dolly was actually on an Empire route schedule when it hit the bridge.
And I wonder if that's what all her sister ships are on, or were on, because they don't seem to come here anymore.
Yeah, what is? I noticed that, and what I don't see is the list of ships that are on that particular route. And
right.
Now I have some more homework.
Right.
Thanks.
Sure.
All right. Moving on. We've got. We didn't record last weekend,
right?
Because of Maritime Day,
right?
So why don't we spend a couple of minutes recapping our experiences from both Maritime Day celebrations? How about that?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you and I were on Pier 13 for Baltimore's Maritime Day on Sunday. And you were doing video for the commemoration for Maritime Day on board the Savannah and recording that and trying to push that through a pipe and get it out to our YouTube channel.
That one was really tough because we had just had a tornado to come through the night before. Oh. And so it had messed up some of the onboard sound system. And so we had a challenge with trying to hook up the audio system with the electrical short that was happening. So that was a challenge in itself. Plus we had on the pier, we had sustained 35, 40 mile an hour winds the whole commemoration.
Unbelievable, weren't they?
It was really tough to keep the satellite feed for the internet up so that we could keep the broadcast going. But there was one little part where the wreath laying was not captured on the video, but we did the best we could on that. So you had a tent up on the pier in front of the John Brown.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I had been looking at the winds because I knew the winds were going to be high that day, and I'm thinking, if the winds are coming from the wrong direction, I don't care how much weight I put on, a giant 10 by 10 sail, basically. Right. It's not going to matter. But luckily, if you look at the pier, the John Brown is here, and the winds were hitting the side of the ship. We're set up over here on the pier. I mean, we had this giant wall that was blocking the winds. Meanwhile, the Savannah has that string of flags, right? And sometimes that noise of the flags flapping was so loud, and you're sitting down there in your little cubby where it's protected and going, wow, these winds are crazy today.
You guys had a problem trying to wipe all the gypsum off of that was blowing back on the tent.
And it's interesting because here's John Brown. We're here. The gypsum pile is here. The wind is blowing this way.
It was whipping.
So it must have, kind of circulated and just percolated down. And I mean, yeah, there was gypsum dust all over everything.
Yeah.
From us, and you helped us out. We did a video. We had a TV set up, like running on my laptop, and so it was the first time we'd done that. That was really cool.
Got to watch some actual Shipwatcher ships and all that. But yeah, that was neat. We can.
I don't know what we're going to do about the whole sun thing. We need Jurassic Park cardboard visor.
Oh.
Remember that?
Yep.
So it was really cool to provide that, and big ups to Chesapeake Marine, Kyle Fennell, who sponsored us buying a custom Easy Up with our logos on it for the first time. So
it looked really sharp.
So we had some branding. We even made some Port of Baltimore pictures. They had us in the pictures.
Oh yeah, in the Maryland Port Administration postings on the internet. Yeah.
So and we had some samples out there. We had a few hats for sale. We were giving away stickers and magnets. Met some people. Were able to introduce the ship watchers to some folks. It was really neat to meet. To see some people in the flesh. Because I joke around and, I apologize because there's only 16,000 people and I see them in a little icon that's this big on my screen. And then they show up real life size and I don't recognize them. And, but it was nice to meet some folks. One guy who runs RTGs at Seagirt and came by with his kids and said, thanks so much for what you guys do. And I really appreciate it. I mean, to come from an industry guy who's behind the scenes running, just doing his job every day, that's some pretty rewarding stuff. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, are those electrical RTGs on the bus bar, are they up and running? And I think he said no, but he said they had a container blow off a stack and land on the bus bar.
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh, so, when you guys are storing containers, you're not putting the twist locks on them. There's nothing holding them together. They're just sitting on top of each other. He said, you'd be surprised how easy a container can blow off. When they want to blow off, they blow, and it landed on the bus bar.
Oh, wow.
And so thank goodness it wasn't powered up because that might have been...
That could have had absolutely.
Pretty interesting.
Shocking experience?
Yeah. But once again, I failed to go up on the Savannah. I always say I want to do it, but then I'm down and I'm manning this tent and the table and all the stuff, and I always find it hard to carve out some time to run down the pier, run up the steps, and go up there. I mean, I want to see it. I want to do it, and I didn't again.
All right, we'll have to get you on next time then.
I know. It only happens once a year.
I know.
I want to do it, but anyway.
The I went on, I think Wednesday or Thursday before in order to do the sound check with all the audio stuff.
Right.
And but I was working with working with Bob with the NS Savannah Association, Bob Adams, a good friend of ours, and we were trying to get the sound, one of the cables working, but he was also working with some contractors, and he said, "Hey, there's one of the contractors wants to meet you because of the podcast." And I said, "What? Okay, sure."
Yeah.
And so we walked through the lobby, and I met the gentleman, and he, excited. We chatted just briefly, "Hey, how are you doing? Great, great." And so it was interesting to me that we actually had somebody who listened. That
you met one person?
Yeah, I met one person. I was like, "Hey, so you listen?" He's like, "Yeah." So I'm like, "Okay, great. I'm glad we have at least one."
Yeah, there's one.
But however, I did while we were out on the pier after we'd done all the broadcasts and everything. I have a new camera. And so I did a man on the street interview with some people out on the pier for Maritime Day that day. So we'll pause it here, and I'll show you the interviews that I did with the new camera. So here we go.
Cool.
Hey guys, you guys are out here at Maritime Day on Pier 13. Who are you, and what are you trying to promote?
We are a Boy Scout venture crew 314 out of New Light Lutheran Church in Dundalk. And our main focus is to teach everyone about history and the War of 1812.
Oh, great. Okay. So you guys are here, you said local here in Baltimore.
Yes.
And so you guys are actively recruiting for
Defenders Day.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And when is next Defenders Day coming?
Defenders Day is going to be this year, August 23rd and 24th out at Fort Howard Park.
Okay. Great. What was your Maritime Day experience like today on Pier 13?
Well, it's a little windy out here.
Sure, absolutely.
But generally, it is a beautiful day. It's not too hot like we've experienced before. It's not pouring rain like we've experienced before. And we have options for lunch and everything.
Great.
So we're having a great time.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for coming out today.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Yes, now.
Okay.
He'll explain it all.
Well, so we started off on Facebook just interested in reports, and now we're a local maritime.
You guys are here for Maritime Day, right? Yeah. Yeah. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's your dad here? He's got a uniform on.
He works in the Coast Guard.
He works in the Coast Guard. He must. I think he's kind of important, isn't he? Yeah, he sure is. So he brought you to Maritime Day, huh? Did you get to go on the tour of the ships? Which one was your favorite? Did you have a favorite one?
No, I don't think I liked all of them.
You liked all of them? Well, I think that's a good way to do it. What are your thoughts from Maritime Day?
I think it was a wonderful event. Folks that make the marine transportation system move are instrumental in everything we do. You know, being able to celebrate them and everything that they do is it's great community here in Baltimore. Very happy to serve here and work with everybody.
Great. It's great to have you guys out today.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Take care.
Let me get my phone out of the way. Make it look a little bit more professional.
Okay.
For the United States SSUS Preservation Foundation. And this is our group. We're here to save the ship.
Okay.
We're going to do it. All the other groups didn't do it. This group will. We have heart. So I've known the ship for all those years, and this opportunity came up. They've gotten me involved in it, loving life with it. I finally got to go on the ship because of this group.
Oh, awesome.
This fellow Carlos behind us, he's the communications officer for our group.
Okay.
Yes, and he's a very important man of our group. He'll tell you everything you need. That's our group.
Great.
That's what we're doing. That's why we're here, to spread awareness to this, bring awareness, and it's going to happen.
We're glad to have you today out here on Pier 13.
Thank you very much.
So my name's Carlos. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for the SS United States Preservation Foundation.
Okay.
We're a group of U.S. merchant mariners, veterans, and historical preservationists. We're trying to save the SS United States. She's our U.S. merchant marine flagship. She is our last American ocean liner. She was built by the hands of World War II veterans and American shipbuilders. She's the largest and the last American ocean liner left in existence. She basically she represents America, you know. And right now, what's happening is Okaloosa County, Florida, has decided to purchase the vessel, not for preservation, but instead to have monetary gains for their tax revenue in the state of Florida. And the problem is that, you know, they propose to sink her in the Gulf of America on our nation's 250th anniversary in 2026. And their goal ultimately is to create the world's largest artificial reef out of the United States, our namesake. And they propose to have divers diving on this as a world premier destination. However, the issue is that she's one of many significant vessels in our period of maritime history. What I would like to say is that everyone to please sign our petition. It's located here. We'll give a card. We can be found on www.ssuspreservationfoundation.com. We ask everybody to join the cause, donate to help, sign our petitions. Every voice counts. The United States could supposedly be a center of maritime excellence where you can train up this line of midshipmen. You can trade the future of technological entrepreneurs. You know, have innovation clinics on board, have American trade schools. You know, there's a lot better alternatives than sinking, quite literally, the most amazing, monumental technological advancement in the SS United States.
What are your thoughts and feelings on Maritime Day here on Pier 13 in Baltimore?
Absolutely wonderful. A few of us came here. Our Vice President was here. I was here yesterday. Ed, our Sustainability Officer, was here. We got the tour of the Savannah privately yesterday. It was phenomenal. Earhart Kohler did an amazing job with the nuclear situation down below where they're revitalizing the space. It was absolutely breathtaking. The preservation of the ship is phenomenal. I mean, you look at these two ships right here just standing in front of us right now. The Savannah. This is what preservation stands like. This is what happens when people come together and we have a shared cause and we realize that the historical significance of these vessels is worth saving. The Savannah stands as a prime example of that, and so does this Liberty ship, which still operates, mind you. You can go on cruises on her. I mean, this is what we're supposed to be doing with our maritime history, our maritime heritage, and we need to change the narrative that they're too far gone and that they're irrelevant, because right now we need to stand as a proud nation, one that's reminding that maritime industry is a pinnacle point for all our growth, including the birth of our nation.
Awesome. Thank you for coming out to Pier 13 today.
Thank you.
Hello.
You guys are here from Community College of Baltimore County today. What's going on?
We are out here promoting our Department of Transportation, Distribution, and Maritime Logistics. Yeah,
Great.
yep.
What are your thoughts about Maritime Day and what you experienced today?
It's been really cool. We got to go on both the Savannah and the John Brown. There've been other maritime things here. It was really family friendly. It was, we had a good time. We met a lot of people in the community, a lot of interesting people that work here at the port. And yeah, it was a great time.
All right, great. Let's, how was Maritime Day today?
Fantastic.
Yeah?
We're members of the John Brown.
Tell me about that.
Well, we're an all-volunteer organization. The volunteers actually own the ship. Anybody can come volunteer. They just have to be a member. And we've had lots of visitors today asking about coming and volunteering.
That's great. That was the next question I was going to ask. Did you have a lot of traffic today for
Yes.
Maritime Day?
Yes.
And we have a ship store. A lot of people came in and spent money in the ship store.
Excellent.
Because we're all volunteer, we don't get, money from MARAD or from any of the other agencies. We have to make our own money.
One thing that people don't know is that this ship operates under her own power, her 82-year-old steam engine.
Wow, that is impressive. If somebody wants to get some more information about the Brown, what should they do?
Take this pen and
Okay.
go to our website.
All right.
Take it.
Take the pen, and the
you can have the
website,
pen.
I will do that, and the website is www.ssjohnwbrown.org. Excellent. All right. Happy Maritime Day.
Thank you, Kip. Thank you, Kip.
All right, so that was just some sights and sounds from that day. You could hear the wind. The wind was really bad, so you could hear that in some of the audio stuff. But
You didn't have the little fuzzy thing.
I did. No, it was.
Did you?
Yeah, it had the little. It's got a little
So
fuzzy.
it would have been a lot worse if you hadn't had that problem.
Correct.
Wow.
So we've got some events coming up that we're going to be involved with. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you some more sights and sounds with all of the maritime related Port of Baltimore things that we get to participate in. So also,
right
on this past Thursday, which is actual National Maritime Day, I had gotten an invite to go down to U.S. Department of Transportation headquarters for their celebration of Maritime Day, and it was a short ceremony. Secretary Duffy got up and spoke, and then they awarded some previous award winners from within the maritime industry, and they had those individuals from World War II got up and they were awarded with some medals that they had earned. And then they had some ceremonial activities with some bell ringings and wreath layings. And so it was a very good opportunity to hear things from the national perspective, and all the. They had a brigade, troop, patrol. I don't know what they were of merchant mariners. Going through one of the academies. They were all kind of standing in the background in celebration. But it was a good event. And then afterwards, I sat in with a maritime workforce roundtable where lead individuals from the industry, from education. From the transportation companies came together and talked about what is needed to help develop the next generation of the maritime workforce. And so if you take a look at some of the legislation in the Ships for America Act that's being pushed through, it's really designed to help rebuild the shipbuilding industry here in the U.S., and so they're also trying to look at what's needed within the workforce to help ramp up the maritime workforce. So there's some decent things that are in that one. So that was the full day. By the time I'd gotten out of there, it was the end of the day, but we had a good opportunity to celebrate and remember the maritime industry within the U.S.
Cool. So speaking of Maritime Day.
There you go.
So I've got my nuclear ship Savannah coffee cup. And we won't talk about the fact that I can't find my Shipwatcher's coffee cup that I took the Maritime Day. We won't talk about that.
Other than that, the research department told you to she packed it up, and
so it's there. I just can't find it.
Just can't find it. Yeah. So. All right, you got some information. You showed me something this week, kind of in around the Panama Canal and what's happening in Mexico.
Right. So I guess the Mexico kind of wants to join the party and get into the industry, and so they took like the smallest part of the isthmus. And I think there were already two ports there, and maybe there was already a railroad there. And so they're gonna promote a land bridge. I mean, they spent $2.8 billion. So I'm not sure what they actually built, how much of it is new. The Interoceanic Corridor is now a reality. For the first time, a cargo ship arrives in the port of Salina Cruz, ready to connect with the interoceanic train transforming the Isthmus of Tehuantepec. I thought I was going to do a much better job pronouncing that, into a powerful trade route between the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. This marks the rebirth of southern Mexico as a global logistics hub, boosting development jobs and a national pride, a historic step in infrastructure. So that's interesting. I thought that was. They said they think they're going to move 1.4 million containers a year across as a land bridge. But I guess that you have to set up, right? I mean, because if you're importing or exporting on one side of a country, and it's only I wrote it down, 190 miles. It's only 190 miles of train track. But if you're importing or exporting, that's one thing. But if you're planning for the container to go across and meet another ship and keep going, that would be a completely different thing, wouldn't it? As far as a planning standpoint. And
all right, so yeah, let's put some things into perspective here. We got the Panama Canal in order to get from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic and vice versa. Okay. The U.S. East Coast is not the only entity that utilizes the Panama Canal.
Right.
Anybody on either side of the water, or either side of the landmass is going to be using this. And the Panama Canal here recently has had some problems with moving products, through the canal, and it primarily had to do with a lot of water related, access. So that limits the amount of ships that can come through the canal. So everybody else at this point is trying to think, what do we need to do? Do we go around the bottom end of South America every time? Or do we come up with other solutions to get those containers or products from on either side? Here in the U.S., if we're bringing stuff from the Asia Pacific region, oftentimes we're going to discharge it in Los Angeles or Long Beach, and use a land bridge, which is a train, to bring the products over to the East Coast. But there's a cost associated with it. So shippers have to decide: is it cheaper to keep it on a cargo ship and drag it through the Panama Canal and back up, or to discharge it in the east on the West Coast and bring it over? In this particular example, Mexico is saying, hey, you know what? We've got a very small distance or short distance of land. It's going to be very, very expensive to go dig a ditch for ships to try to go through. But if we just go ahead and improve the facilities on both sides of the isthmus, we can then, train or rail those products from one side to the other, and then put them back onto a ship, and then bring them, to their final destination. And then all of this is related to the actual cost associated with moving those products. And then they have found a way to make those improvements.
So this is it right here, right? And we'll zoom in, and we'll take a closer look. So this is the rail line. From here to here, and then if you zoom way in, so this is openrailwaymap.org.
Okay.
If you're a map person, or if you like trains, will the jury please disregard my previous comments about openrailway.org, because you do not want to look at this, because you will be in here for an hour.
Oh, okay. All right. Nerd website.
Obviously, here's the port, and you can see the rail service, right?
Okay.
And then
it comes right into the port too. So they're moving. It's a direct rail to cargo ship movement. So that's where one of the benefits is for this.
Right. And then we'll zoom out and show the whole rail line here as it goes across the country. And this is only, what did I say, 190 miles.
190 miles is what you
and then on this side, it's like the main line goes right into the port.
Yeah.
You can tell by the different colors.
So they've built the infrastructure to allow for the maximum amount of efficiency through this operation then.
Right. And then look, there's even a spur here, like a yard for storage. And then you can see the berths. I think these are ship berths here, and then I guess there would be one here. But yeah, that was pretty cool to be able to kind of see down into the details of of
Mm-hmm.
what the rail line looks like right up to the port to make this thing work. And I guess somebody has done their analysis to want to spend $2.8 billion on this.
Right.
I mean, now it's an economic engine for the country, and I did see one commenter on an article that said that there would be, businesses and manufacturing and things that would sprout up on this line because of its connectivity to either port. So theoretically, you could be anywhere along this 190 miles and benefit from this connectivity.
Absolutely.
So that's an interesting point.
I would imagine that the U.S. would be interested in this also.
Okay.
What I don't know is how many days that it might cut out for those shipments. In other words, when you pulled up the map, you could see that it was in kind of the south central side of Mexico. It wasn't all the way down.
It's almost, and it's interesting because you think of Mexico as, north south, so transitions will be east west, and it's so far down Mexico that this transition is north and south pretty much.
It puts it much closer to the east coast of the U.S.
I
wonder how many days it cuts out in the number of days it takes to move to the East Coast from wherever it's going, and what that benefit would be. So some of the costs are direct costs, direct cost reduction, and some of it is an unrealized or a cash flow decision where, hey, if you can move your deliveries up by a week just because you're going through this this newer path, that just the sheer fact that you're able to get your products to your customers faster, and then that cash flow coming back in from receipts of payment is coming in faster. That may be the where that decision is made, is that, hey, look, it may cost the exact same, but I'm able to get my products to my customers just faster, and that's where the benefit is.
Or I was thinking, what if it was, because I'm sure they've done the math. They know what it costs for somebody to now we talked the best about this on the camera chat, but I didn't realize that there are actual ports on both sides of the Panama Canal.
Yes.
So they pretty much are already doing this service. So not only are you competing with the canal, but you're competing with somebody else, a rail service, a land bridge at the Panama Canal, which I didn't realize for the longest time had even existed. So you don't have to necessarily put your container on a ship, and it doesn't have to go through the canal. You can put it on, and it can go to, I think it's Balboa is the name of the port at the southern end of the Panama Canal, and then it can ride a train, hop on another ship, and keep going. So you have to compete with that price, and does that save time or money, right? Because what if it's, they've already done the math and they know that, okay, we can do this for 25% cheaper, but maybe it takes another day.
That is correct. Those are all of the supply chain decisions that people make related to these types of transactions. That is correct.
Right. Didn't something just happen, like right after he said that, the week after somebody signed a new contract and to take over those terminals?
That's correct.
Okay.
And we whatever the U.S. investment company is supposed to be back into those two terminal operations now, so that we can have some say into the rail connection process related to what you just described. So that is some interesting information to kind of track and watch and see what happens, especially with some of the economic changes and some of those things that are coming from the national and from the federal level. So
it'd be interesting because when you watch a Sal Marcagliano video and he was talking about the tariffs, and he goes into each port and he pulls up their public information right?
Mhm.
With all the graphs and all the information. And just for me, from a curiosity standpoint, I mean, I don't know if the government of Mexico is going to put that stuff online. I mean, once they're proud of it and they're happy, then they probably want to promote it, right? But it would be neat to see the cargo volumes like come up to a certain level and and sustain as they spin this thing up, and the customers come into both ends and get the whole thing, get the whole system working.
Yeah.
I would find that interesting.
Yeah. All right. Some upcoming events. You had your Monday, your History Mondays with the Woodwind Sailings. You had your first one already, right?
Yep, that was pretty cool. And we got an incredible, dedicated bunch of friends who show up to those. And it seems that one person in particular winds up buying a large amount of tickets to support me, and it really is an incredible thing, and I really am thankful for it.
Good. All right.
Can I go back a minute to Maritime Day for just a minute? Speaking of big ups and thank yous, I wanted to say thank you to everybody at the John Brown for being so welcoming and basically having stuff ready. You know, I talked to a couple people. I was like, hey, is there any way I can get power? You got this really cool idea, and Kip's going to borrow Kip's going to let me use a TV, and he's going to put together a video. I'm going to bring my, so we're going to be able to play like a ship watching video at the table while we have all our stuff set up. And so, I show up, they save me a spot right in front of where the extension cord plugs in. The extension cord is plugged in. There's a table and 2 chairs. I mean, the stuff that they had pre-set up for me, it was really cool. And then they helped me set up the whole thing, and so really cool to those folks for being so welcoming. Really appreciate it.
I have the same message and the same experience from that day. The folks on the John W. Brown are fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But you've got June 30th and July 21st coming up with the Woodwind Sailing. So
yes,
when we get a little bit closer to those, we'll make sure we put up some links and some information for people to participate in that.
And remember the tickets, and you can just navigate to the Woodwind website and go onto their calendar, find the Monday. But the tickets don't go on sale until the week before.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
June the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Wednesday night. The Women's Traffic and Transportation Club of Baltimore is having their June meeting.
Nice.
This is a big one. I think they are doing not only their officer installations at this meeting. The scholarship committee winner or the scholarship winner is getting awarded, but Josh, our buddy Reverend Josh, is going to be the speaker at that event.
Cool.
So you're going to want to listen to what he's got to say. I'll put the link to the Women's Traffic Club website. So if you're interested in purchasing tickets for that, I believe they're on sale now. So you'll want to go and listen to that. Hear our buddy Josh.
Very cool.
And then as we get closer to the fall, the Trade Point Atlantic has also announced their fall open house. It's a virtual event. They always have great information for the public, so we'll also publicize that.
Now, do you remember, are those opposed 6 months out, or because the last one was in April, so we could kind of infer that the next one would be in October?
Yeah, I think it's about late September, early October.
Yeah.
Usually,
I know that they've actually put the date out there, but we don't have it.
Yeah.
We didn't get it under the wire for this podcast.
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right, in our Port of Baltimore history segment, so Mike, you and I went back and forth about how we wanted to address Memorial Day. I did quite a bit of research to try to find connectivity to the Port of Baltimore and Memorial Day. And it was quite a challenge because there was so much that has happened over time. You know, so I kind of, for my purposes, I went back and said, well, what is Memorial Day? I know what we do with it. You know, it's we're celebrating those who have, you know, fought in various wars, and it's a point of reflection or remembrance for those who have lost their lives. But I went and did a little bit of research on it. It was originally known as Decoration Day. It is a federal holiday in the United States, honoring and mourning the U.S. military personnel who died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. So that really says all of the branches, you know, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, you know, so all of, you know, and then all of the other services, you know, and then I start thinking about Merchant Marines. I think about anybody who is helping with wartime related efforts.
Sure.
You know, I think those are the types of transactions and situations when I think about, you know,
Right,
Memorial Day.
because if I may, you know, I think maybe we went down this path last year on Memorial Day. You know, made what's the number? 384 Liberty ships here, right? And then when you think about the merchant mariners that were on the 2,700 Liberty ships, and how many of those were set, we went down these numbers, didn't we? And then we figured out how many of those ships were sank, and then we did the math and came up with, what was it, 10 or 11,000 men killed just on the Liberty ship. Was that right? Is that ring a bell? It was quite a number to be
right
talking about. So, but you make a great point that, you know, when we talk about Memorial Day, probably a whole lot of people aren't thinking about merchant mariners.
Correct.
And, you know, as we have our Two Guys Talking Ship podcast about the port, you know, that's a connection to our port that we can make that help folks think about that other side of it that probably most people don't make that connection. Sorry. Here
in Baltimore, there's quite a bit. I mean, we can look at Revolutionary War and Civil War interactions. You know, I know that I've got some you know, some genealogy or some family history here recently that I found that has a Baltimore connection. So that's been kind of interesting because I'm not originally from here. But there's a tremendous amount of influence with the War of 1812 here in the port. And then even with World War I and World War II operations, there, you know, with supportive services, you know, fleet operations, you know, loading products, you know, to go for wartime efforts. There's been quite a bit here that the Port of Baltimore has been involved with. So I think my takeaway with all of this is that yes, we do need to honor those who have lost their lives and that we know about, but there's also those that we may not know about that we also need to keep in remembrance.
Thank you. All right. Do we have anything else?
I think that's about it from my side.
Okay. So just to give a little background, so Two Guys Talking Ship podcast, but bigger part of Baltimore Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. It's kind of how this whole thing got started. We have a Facebook group with over 16,000 people who are interested in little old Port of Baltimore, which is kind of cool. So we have a website that has links to the camera podcast, some swag. We've got glasses, like three or four different types of hats, t-shirts, polo shirts, sweatshirts. Probably a little late in the season for the sweatshirts, but anyway, links to camera, podcast, swag, ship schedule, port maps, all kinds of information on the website. We're on Twix. Shout out Amy Lawrence. Reddit, Threads. And if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, hit the bell to be alerted to new podcasts as they come available.
If you want to listen to the audio version of this, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So we're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're getting into the summer here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going on. We got a couple of activities that we know we have coming up. Should we give a little plug? The Francis Scott Key buoy is going to get placed here soon. So we might have something on that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. All right.
Yeah, that would be cool. All
right.
It would be great to have some film on that. That would be cool.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Happy ship watching.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching and have a great week.